So I'm glad you can join me today, this evening actually. Usually I record in the morning, but all week I've had Giganet, a broadband company, outside my house with a pneumatic drill drilling up the road, and that just, I cannot film when there's so much noise going on. I can't think when there's so much noise going on. So this is part one of the Paul Rubens review, Paul Rubens Soft Pastels review, and part two is coming next week. So here's our set. Comes in a lovely box, and there's 72 in the set, and you get a colour chart which I've already filled in, and a leaflet that tells you about them. And as I say, I've already filled that chart in, but one thing I noticed when I was doing it, I got a little bit confused because the colours don't line up with the colour chart. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 across by 2, 4, 6, 8 across on the colour chart. So when you're trying to find a colour, it's fairly tricky to find them. So that could simply be rectified just by having a different structure to that. And these are the pastels. And it's a lovely set of vibrant pinks and yellows and oranges. You've got a few blues in there and some really nice muted greens here. You've got some peacock greens here as well. The set costs about £70, and there's 70 sticks, so that's about £1 a stick. They are about half stick size there. And immediately what I notice is that there's some really lovely light colours. We've got obviously white, but we've got off pinks, pale peaches, pale pinks, pale lilacs, pale blues. We've even got a lovely pale green there. But on the other side of that, the flip side of that, is that we don't have many darks. We've got black down here, and we've got a dark purple here. Very nice dark purple, I have to say. There. We do have a dark red, but not many darks at all. So I'd find it quite difficult to do any animals with this. I'd have to supplement it with some other dark browns, really. And the other thing I notice is actually there really aren't many browns at all in here. So apart from there not being many darks, there's just not many dark browns. There's a blue, but it's not very dark. You see that one there? Okay, so it's a nice set. It's got some lovely colours in it, but it would be a set that I would supplement with other pastel brands or pastel colours. But I did speak to a lovely gentleman who sent me this set, and he said that they are doing some extra colours which will be dark. So we're looking at this set being a mid-range set. They're not professional pastels, they're not super cheap pastels by any means, so they're a mid-range set along the lines of the Mungio brand. So I did have a look through the set earlier, and I did discover this pastel, and it had a bit of a mixing issue by the looks of it. If I just dig into that, it looks like it hasn't been mixed properly, or there's something on the surface of it. I'm not really sure what's going. Yeah, it looks like it's not mixed properly in there, but it's the only one in the set. The rest look fine. So one way to tell if a pastel is full of pigment and not full of binder, as in a really cheap set, is to just run your finger down the pastel and see if you get pastel off, and you do, which is great because you know it's going to be a nice soft pastel. If I do that with my Unison one here, you can see exactly the same thing happen There we go. We get a lot more pigment off this one because this is a professional one. So we expect to get much more pigment. But it's really good that we've got pigment off of this one too. If I compare that with one of these Reeves pastels, which are very, very cheap pastels, and run my finger down here, I don't get anything off. A very, very tiny amount. It's quite hard to see whether I've got pastel off or whether it's my finger colour, because it's very similar. Nothing's coming off on the paper either. So you can see that how much pigment is in a pastel just by running your finger down it and where the colour comes off straight away. And then I like to do this little test. So I can put some Unison pastel down, and then I'll put some of our Paul Rubens pastels down. I'm getting a similar colour as I can there, and I'm going to do another Paul Rubens just because I don't have the same colour. And then I'm going to do a Mungio pastel, and then a Sennelier pastel. And I just added the Rembrandt on the end there as well. So I've got a little bit of water on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to put that in the Unison pastel. See what we get. So we've got lovely colour, lovely flat colour, and we can pull that out. That's lovely. A nice even amount of colour there, like that. And now the Paul Rubens. Okay, so the colour's a bit weaker than the Unison, which is what we'd expect, so that's absolutely fine because they're just not the same price. You're not comparing like for like, but the important thing is how does it compare. And I've just added the Reeves one in there just as a comparison as well, so the pigment's not moving about so much. There we go. Then we'll move on to the Mungio. So I said in terms of price it's about the same level as Mungio. So let's see what happens with the Mungio. Different colour as well. You have to bear in mind this is not a scientific test because I have not got the same colours. But it is really kind of behaving just like a Mungio pastel. So that is our comparison there. And then Sennelier, which we'd expect to be full of pigment because they are expensive professional pastels. Yeah, look at that, full of pigment, just like the Unison pastels. The difference between the Sennelier and the Unison is that the Sennelier are softer. I've just taken a little bit of pigment off there onto my cloth just because it was about to drip down the page. And then we'll do the Rembrandt. So the Rembrandt are mid-range as well. And let's see what happens. Okay, so it's behaving better than the Mungio and the Paul Rubens, which you'd expect as well because it is a slightly better pastel stick than the Mungio and Paul Rubens. It does move about the page, but it does behave a little bit like the Mungio, and then we've got this line of pastel that we can't really move. We've got a line there as well of pastel that we can't really move. But the Unison and the Sennelier, which are the professional brands, the pigment moved quite freely. Okay, so our last one is the Reeves, and I'm expecting this to be really watery. When I put the Reeves on the paper, it was really really hard. I had to press really, really hard to get the pastel on. And yeah, look, that's really watery. Now, out of all the pastels, I had to press the hardest to put this on. So I was probably there putting it on for a lot longer than the others. And look at that, there's barely any pastel or pigment in that one because it just washes right out. I'm going to do that again because it was so hard to get the pigment on the paper, to get it as thick as the Unison and the Sennelier were. So that's the Reeve. I'm really pressing really quite hard, as you can probably hear, to get that on there, whereas the Unison, I don't have to press very hard at all to get that on. And the Sennelier, and the Sennelier being the softest, so it would be the easiest to go on. And then, so there's the Reeves. A little bit better that time because I really did press even harder, but it's the same effect as last time. And then the Unison, lots of pigment in there. And then the Sennelier, lots of pigment in there as well. And just a reminder that these are all different colours, so it is not a scientific test, it just gives you an idea of what the pastels are like in general. So the Paul Rubens are very similar to the Mungio, so you now know what kind of pastel they are. So if you've got some Mungio and you're fancying some more pastels in the same budget range, the Paul Rubens could be good ones to go for. So next we're going to try some blending, and I've got an old piece of pastel mat here, just a little piece I had left over, and I'm going to put some of the blue on. So that is the darkest blue in the set, which is really not very dark at all, but I'm going to get it to blend out with some other colours, and putting them on the paper they do feel quite soft, so they're quite nice to use. And they do blend really nicely, as you can see. That's lovely. We're getting a lighter blue here. There we go, clean finger and blend. So they are really soft pastels, so that is lovely if you're looking for pastels that you just want to get some practice with. These are a good brand to go for. We're going to try that with some of the reds as well. So we'll go for that bright red that we had just now. There we go, that's a very bright red, that's lovely. And we'll go down to an orange. And a yellow, there's loads of yellows in here. Try not to make green with all the blue on my fingers. Let's see what we get here. That's nice, yep, lovely blending. There we go, yeah, very nice. Something else that caught my eye was this delicious, really vibrant violet, and it reminds me of the Terry Ludwig colour called Eggplant. It's not quite the same as the Terry Ludwig Eggplant, but it's quite a delicious violet colour. Look at that. This is the Eggplant colour, which is much darker in comparison, but you know, it's still a lovely colour. It just reminded me of that colour. So that is beautiful. And we've got some lovely lilacs in this set as well. Look at that. That's a lovely lilac. And what's this? One thing I have noticed in this set is that there are colours that are really quite similar, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I mean, I know people have different colour perceptions, but I've got quite good colour perception, and these colours are pretty close. I'm just wiping off this pastel because I got a darker patch in the middle of that, which is strange. Let's try that again. Maybe it was just a dirty pastel. Let's just really wipe this off. I'm really not sure if these pastels have been mixed very well, or if it's my fingers, so I'm really going to wash my fingers off just to double check that. But again, it just shows you how soft these pastels are, because I'm getting all the pastel off on my other pastels. So just wipe that really clean. I'm having trouble getting it clean. I don't know if you can see this. It's I just can't get that clean for some reason. I don't know if it's because it's in the pastel, or oh yeah, if you look at that end, yeah, you can see that there's darker colours inside there, and so it does look like it hasn't been mixed very well. Take that all the way down. Yeah, so I'm getting different colours coming out in that pastel. But I'm going to have a go at blending these. And again, really nice to blend. Oh, I could blend all day doing this. Look at that, that's lovely. Right, now there was that other pastel that I found, the peachy one, and let's see what that's like inside, because there was a lot of, yeah, can you see that? That's not mixed properly. Then you can see that there, where it's not mixed properly. So we're getting some white coming through, or very light peach. It's quite a nice effect, but yeah, it just shows you that the pastel hasn't been mixed properly in there. So I'll try some of the other lighter ones now. So here's oh, that's a nice colour. That's a nice skin tone, a nice flesh tone there. That's a lovely pastel. And we've got this. This is nice. It's like a sandy colour. Yeah, that's a very good colour for sand. And we've got some other sandy colours as well down here. Just clean these off. Look at that. These are really nice, because it can be quite difficult to find colours that make sand, or a sand colour. So that's good. Now that's quite similar to that colour, isn't it? We just put that next to it. Very similar, look at that. And then we've got some more sandy colours. Again, that is quite similar to that colour. It would have been nice if they'd put some more darker browns in here, rather than having colours that were really, really similar. That's a nice colour though. Even though they are similar, they're still really nice colours. And we've got this one as well. Yeah, so these two, they are different, as you can see, but again, really similar. So it would have been nice to have a bigger variety of colour choices, rather than lots of colours that were quite similar. Here's a yellow, very vibrant yellow. and another yellow, very vibrant. Again, similar colours as well. There's some nice peacock colours. I'm running out of space here, aren't I? So I went a bit crazy with that one. So nice peacock colour there, sort of a turquoise colour. Turquoise, well, that's more of a phthalo green, I think that is, and a lighter peacock green there. They are all very nice colours. I'm really enjoying putting the pastel on the paper. It goes on really nicely. And then I've got this colour, which is, let's find out which colour it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is what's tricky because I can't tell which it is on the chart. Okay, there we go. It's a grey there. It does look slightly lilac-y when I look at it, but when I put it on the paper it's grey. So yeah, that's good. And I was just wondering whether it was mixed properly. If I break it in half, oh, that did break quite easily, but yes, it is mixed properly. So they're quite fragile because they did break. That did break quite easily. I'm going to break another one, see how fragile it is to break, or easy it is to break. So yeah, easy to break. That could be a good thing because then you get some nice sharp edges with them. Look at that, that's nice. So as we can see from that, some of them have been mixed perfectly, but there are a couple in the set that haven't been mixed properly. So easy to break, give you nice sharp lines to create your edges. And next week in part 2 I'm going to show you how to do this little seascape, and as you can see from this, the pastels are absolutely fine, they work well. This was on a piece of wet and dry paper, so I'll be doing it on pastel mat next week for you, and I'll tell you all about my experience with using them next week.